大是人周历尔想我们今天的主题是呢 Who was Albert Einstein？ 谁是艾伯特·爱因斯坦？我们这个开场白呢，我已经讲了不知道连续几天了。然后这一本书呢也快讲完了，今天4、5，然后明天再6、7，然后再8，然后就把这本讲完了。所以呢，我们在4、5、6、7、8，我们在3天，我们在今天讲完的话，就2天就可以把这本讲完了。好感动哦！我终于可以抛弃这个老到不能再老的开场白。Who was Albert Einstein？ 谁是艾伯特·爱因斯坦？废话说了那么多，那我们直接开始来讲。Albert's fame brought him thousands of letters from people all over the world, not just scientists, even kids, newspapers, reporters, political leaders, college students. They all wrote to him. Many of letters came from Jewish people right in Germany. They were kicked out with schools, then dropped out allowed to vote. Albert was Jewish. Couldn't he do anything? For a long time, Albert wanted to help create a homeland of Jewish people. The certain Jewish nation, Israel, did not exist early 19th. The land with called Palestine, like many other Jews, and Albert thought that their area was Jewish homeland. In 1921, Albert traveled important Jewish people to the United States. He wanted to raise money for Jewish homeland Palestine. Albert enjoyed the long boat trip from Europe to America. He looked out at Indian Ocean and felt this whole up in nature. I reminded Albert how tiny one man was compared to the greatness of nature. He was not so important as the world was making out to be. That thought he was makes me happy. So Albert was quite surprised to see thousands of people, including reporters and photographers, waiting in the pier when his ship arrived in New York City. Whenever he went, there were huge crowds eager to see the genius who unlocked the secrets of the universe. The mayor of New York personally welcomed him to presented Albert with a key to the city and the president in his honor. When Albert visited Washington, D.C., President Warren Harding invited him to the White House. Albert's impressive genius look was a big hit with Americans. With a wild hair, messy clothes, a friendly personality, Albert charmed reporters. He was often asked, "Could you briefly explain the lucidity of gravity?" These questions drove Albert nuts. After all, it had taken him 15 years and intense of thinking to develop, but he take a deep breath, smile, and say, "When a man sits with a pretty girl for an hour, it seems like a minute, but let him sit with a hot stove for a minute, it's longer Any hour. Let's read Naivety. Although Albert was a superstar in the United States, he was an unwanted problem is Germany. Problem in Germany. Although he was still teaching job in Berlin, it became harder for Albert to stay in Germany for passing the year. After the Nazis to control Germany and in the 1920s, Albert's life increasingly endangered. Nazis hated Jews. In radicals pacifist, Albert was all free when Nazis emptied university libraries of all the books and burned them. It was often as Albert's book top in the huge bonfires. By 1930, Albert had done most of the best scientific and forwards and public speaking, and it made the Nazis angry for the safety and also had made an Albert has fast seeking and against the Nazi. He refused. He said, I wouldn't be instant if I keep quiet. He also refused to leave Germany, even though more and more friends and family begged him to. The uncensored, however, many trips to more welcome countries. They traveled to Middle East, to Asia, and the west coast of United States. Everywhere they went, they were greeted by large cheering crowds. Japan even declared the day for Albert's arrival their national holiday. In Spain, they greeted by king of thousands of fans. Albert received honorary degrees from Oxford, Cambridge, the Sorbonne, Harvard, and many universities around the world. It was just a professor. He found the Jewish and cause of Jews and ground of Muslims and the trust with Germans. How strange Albert to be born in all the world except a country where being born. Nazis published a book called 100 Offers Against Einstein. All Albert said was, why 100? If I were wrong, one would have been enough. Germany would not cover the defeat in the World War I and treated ending and left as Germany hungry for and felt hopeless. And Nazis National Socialist Party blamed Germany's problems with Jewish by the early 1930s. The Nazi parties grew from small band in Germany dangerous to the most powerful political party in Germany. The Nazis led by Adolf Hitler entered Germany in 1933. Never had a government issues with a score. How drops one permanently or worship. Eventually, the Nazis began murdering the Jews, and they wanted to wipe every Jew out with the face of the earth. The Nazis killed 6 million Jews before World War II ended in 1940, and Germany was defeated. Albert was lucky to survive in Nazi Germany in 1931, and Albert got a professor in California, Alsatian. Albert Einstein and Hitler put a death warrant up in 1933 when Albert and Elsa were returning a trip to California. Mrs. Einstein, a summer house in Hanover, Germany. A bread knife was found in the kitchen, a perfectly natural place for a bread knife could be, but nurses used a knife to prove a dangerous man Albert was. The nurses besides everything, Albert owned his home and money, and now is owed no questions about moving. Albert and Elsa rented a house in Bergamo, and Albert's stepdaughters also came to live. But in Bergamo, a new book from Germany was now included photographs and Nazis as one in our photo, and the first page with Nazis not yet handed printing next to it. And Bergen's always a safe place either. No, it's instant skull. England? No, as I was right up there. In England, there is of a huge Albert murder. Albert joke. I never knew that I was worth so much. In the end, Albert and Elsa decided the United States under a new home. Albert became a professor in mathematics in Oxford, in Princeton, and Institute for Advanced Studies in New Jersey. By the 1933, he and Elsa settled into the small college town. Early in Princeton were very difficult. Albert was 54 years old. He was not a young man. He was no longer startling the world and new ideas. Then just 3 years removed to Princeton, Elsa passed away. Albert was lonely and heartbroken. He owned a hard stop and had left Elsa side of last 12 months here in New Jersey, and here we about friends who have murdered in Germany with an angry energy and love, and as usual, we stop on Nazis also raise a monster, but not going until the end of Hitler. Albert was famous when E equals MC2, and that is just response that to energy that non-massive. In 1949, Albert learned European scientists and were trying to make atom bomb. Albert feared that Germans would have their first build such a bomb, so Albert wrote a letter to the President of the United States, Franklin D. Roosevelt. He asked the United States began develop of active bomb right away. This could not have been an easy letter for a man like Albert to write. He hated war, he hated weapons. Yet now he asked the United States to hurry up to build most distressing things from ever imagined. Even the simplest atom bomb could destroy the entire city and kill thousands of people within seconds. But Albert thought that it would be worse if Nazis were the only ones with such a weapon. Practically, Because of Albert's letter, President Roosevelt had secret work begun building the atom bomb. Albert later stressed in a moment in world art history, I made a great mistake in my life, and I signed the letter to the President. Roosevelt recommended that atom bomb would be made, but there was such a situation the danger of Germans would be taken. In World War II, Albert spent the time in list of atom weapons. I don't know how the Free World War would be fought, he warned, but I do know the fourth rule, with sticks and stones. He meant that after the First World War, atom bombs and more than will go back destroyed, and humans would have to go back to living like cavemen. We scientists, Albert said, not consider our responsibility to do all in our power preventing these weapons from being used. 谢谢大家。如果喜欢影片，可以按个赞，不要忘了订阅、小铃铛。有什么建议的话，可以在底下留言。那我们下回再见，拜。